Hi, my writer loves. How are we all doing today? I am super duper excited because this is my first ever YouTube video. How exciting is that? Um, First and foremost, hello. It's lovely to meet you all. My name is Abby, and this is kind of just like a writing. This channel is just going to be for a bunch of writers talking about what we love, doing what we love, creating a community of writers, because I feel like I don't see that enough on social media. There's a bunch of different communities of like readers and stuff like that, but I feel like there needs to be more for writers. I'm always looking for stuff like that, and sometimes I can't ever find it, so that's kind of my goal for today. Sorry if you could hear me hit the mic there. Maybe you didn't, maybe you did. Who really knows? Sorry, I'm grabbing my notebooks. Okay, so basically today is just gonna be me talking about what this channel is gonna be about, but what this channel is gonna like be in general, let alone be about. And kind of just talking about, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'm gonna tell you why I made the channel, which I kind of already just said. Trust it'll all be really quick. If you don't want to hear me yap about that and you just want to get right into the writing, I understand, and I will try to put timestamps. I don't really know how to use YouTube yet, so there might be timestamps, there might not be. You might just have to like fast forward until you find it. But yeah, and then I'm just going to tell you what the channel is going to involve, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the writer's journal, because I think the writer's journal is super important. That'll be a super quick conversation. And then we'll get into kind of what I believe writing is, and then I'm going to give you a prompt. Perhaps two. We'll see. Alright, so me. I have loved writing for literally as long as I can remember. I can't remember a time when I didn't love writing. It's my favorite thing to do. To be honest, it is. And so I really wanted to make a channel just to like be able to talk about it and be able to inspire one another. As I said, create this community. We can have discussions, we can analyze, we can improve our own writing and work through the joys but also the struggles of writing together. And I love to continue to develop my craft. So I think that's the main thing that kind of drove me to create this channel, was just because I want to, improve my craft, help you guys improve your craft, and we can go through this together, and we can experiment and have fun together. And I think that's the whole point of this. So yeah, a little bit more about me. I am technically a published author, self-published through KDP, which is Kindle Direct Publishing, if you did not know. I will definitely talk about Kindle Direct Publishing and kind of my editing and publishing process in a different video, because obviously if you love to write and you are currently working on a bigger piece, like a novel or something, kind of a project. I should start calling it a project because it's not just a piece. But anyway, so if that is kind of your goal, I will definitely talk to you about that, and I will talk about traditional publishing as well. I'll just talk about like the research that I have done on it, because I'm still not a pro, but that's kind of the whole point of this. We're going through everything together and we're working things out together, and everything's going to be fantastic and great. But yeah, that's kind of the whole point. We're gonna experiment, we're gonna learn, we're gonna do things together. And that's kind of the whole point of this channel, which I already freaking said, and I apologize for repeating myself. Anyway, so yeah, I have published a poetry book called Life is Good. I actually never I was never into poetry until my grandfather had passed away a few years ago, and I used poetry as a way to cope with my grief, and now I'm just a practicing poet. You know, I consider myself a practicing poet. I write poetry often. I'm working on another poetry book, so that's exciting. I think poetry is really, really powerful, and I am going to talk about poetry on this channel as well, because I just love it, and I love talking about it. Yes, and then I published a novel called Anomalous. Yeah, I published that probably almost about a year ago. Actually, no, I think I published it in June. So not completely a year yet. I don't know if that sentence makes sense, but it's okay. Sorry, my books are like on on my desk. Like I have bookshelves on my desk and it's up there, so I was like, what am I talking about? So I apologize for looking up like that. But yeah, I'm also sorry if you can hear the sounds. It's a nice day. There are people out and about. I don't have my window open, but you can hear things through the window, so I apologize for that if you can hear that, because that's kind of annoying, but my hair is like not cooperating today also, so I apologize for my hair. I apologize. Anyway, so yeah, that is what I wanted to talk about. Hold on, I accidentally closed my notebook, so I had a list of like things that I wanted to just like quick. What the channel is going to involve. What a great question. At this point, again, all about experimentation. So I don't really have like a set plan. I think I have like an idea. Basically, I think a lot of the videos are going to be me discussing a specific element of craft and kind of just going in depth what we can try to do to kind of improve that element of our craft. And then I'll give some examples of like, oh, this book does this really well. Let's see what techniques this author used to do this so well. And I'm also a big part of writing is also storytelling. And I think storytelling elements are also really, really important to consider when you're writing, obviously, because what else are you writing about? So, we might also look at some movies and TV shows as well in terms of storytelling, not writing specifically, obviously. We can still look at like the dialogue and the way that the writer for the movie, did things, but I think we're mainly going to be looking at like plot, character development, stuff like that. Which we can also look at. I'm going to give you like a prompt or two, maybe even 3, who knows what I'm feeling, whatever I'm feeling that day. I'm going to give you a prompt or 2 or 3, and then you can go on your merry way and you can work on that prompt, or you don't have to. That's the beauty of life, you know. You don't you make your own choices. um but yeah, I love when people give me prompts, open my mind to different ideas that I don't think I would have considered trying out before. Um so yeah, I love a good prompt. So that's kind of what I'm going to try to do for you guys. I'm just going to try to come with a prompt every day, not every day, every video. And you can work on it, but you don't have to. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I realized that I just repeated myself. So now that that is completed, now I'm going to talk about the writer's journal. So, I obviously am a writer. Okay? I love notebooks. I'm obsessed with notebooks. I have a different notebook for every single topic, and there's a topic assigned to every single notebook, and I'm like, I can't write anything else other than things that have to do with this topic in this notebook. And you know what? That gets stressful. So then you know what I did? I bought myself an everything journal. What is it dedicated to? Everything. Okay, so I put collages, I put calendars, I do writing exercises in it. I plan out my days, I make to-do lists, I goal tracking. I literally do everything in this journal. And I love it. I love it because instead of carrying around 50 million journals, I can just carry around one. But anyway, that's my one journal. And then my other journal, she is a beauty. Oh, she kind of, I don't know, she's like stitched. The cover is like stitched, and I don't even know how to describe it, but she's beautiful, and I think I'm going to use her for my different writing exercises and prompts and stuff like that, because I think that's right for her, you know. Write poetry in her. Just write. So anyway, let's talk about the writer's journal. I think the writer's journal is insanely important. I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second while I move. Sorry, I wanted to sit differently. Okay, so let's talk about why the writer's journal is so important. Every writer, in my opinion, should have a journal, okay? The reason I think this is so important is because I'm not necessarily sure you're going to ever improve your craft if you're not, you know, writing at least every day. Now, let me explain this before you're like, oh my gosh, every day? What if I'm really busy and I don't have time? Listen. Okay. So, sorry to be presumptuous. I don't want to be presumptuous, but okay, so what I mean by write every day, write, I don't know, it can literally be anything. It can be a list, okay, of stuff you have to do, a grocery list, okay? But when you do that, maybe do something creative with your grocery list. Maybe do something creative with your to-do list, you know? I don't know what that would be, but I'm sure you creative minds out there can probably think of something. You can also, like, I don't know, write 1 to 3 sentences about your day, what happened. Go sit outside for a second, or sit somewhere in public and, like, people watch or something, and write about it. In as much detail as you can, or just write about it in 1 to 3 sentences. You know, it doesn't have to be anything big. You can even write about, like, today I'm thankful for this. You know, it can be a gratitude kind of thing. But it gets your mind going, it gets your writing mind going, and I think that's kind of the main point of that. So I think the writer's journal is amazing. Also, notebooks are awesome, and I think you should get a notebook. But no pressure if you want to use a notepad or a napkin. I don't care. Do that. That's also using your creative mind. So honestly, go for it. Go for it. I have no problem with it. Obviously, I'm not here to boss people around. um, so yeah. So let's get into now what writing is and our prompts for the day. 1 second again. Sorry, my fingers were starting to hurt and I needed to change the way I was holding the mic. Anyway, so today I want to talk about what writing is all about. First and foremost, writing is about expressing, right? Anything you want, I think. It's about storytelling. We know that. It's about, dealing with your everyday life, coping with things. Writing can be used for so many different things. And that's why I think it's beautiful. What I'm specifically going to talk about is practicing and embracing the strange. What I mean by this is sometimes we can get caught up in the day-to-day cycle and kind of get lost in its mundanity. Is that a word? And if it is a word, did I say it right? I don't even know. I kind of just thought of that and I was like, I don't know if that's a word. You get what I'm trying to say. We get lost in the mundane. And so practicing and embracing the strange is I take a lot of writing classes and that's kind of what I listen to a lot of podcasts as well, but I haven't heard my podcast talking about this, but I have talked about this in some of my classes, and I go to some public reading events that I've talked about this. And in one of my classes, we talked about, try to write about the everyday in the strangest way possible. This is a great writing exercise, okay? It kind of gets your creative mind going and, working. And it also introduces you to ideas that you may not think you have. What I mean by, and so the first exercise / prompt I'm going to give you, sit down, write about your day. If you don't want to write about your day, pick a few everyday objects that you use that nobody really thinks about and describe it to as if you're describing it to somebody who has never seen it before. Describe it in as much detail as you possibly can. It's a really fun exercise. It's really interesting to see what your mind can come up with when you're trying to describe these things. And I don't know, introduces you to the strangeness and a different way of writing about things. Because, I'm going to talk about this in a different video, but when you're writing, as the writer, you have to develop your own voice. And I think this exercise can help with doing that, because when you embrace the strange, everybody embraces it differently. Everybody speaks of the strange differently. So this can help you find your voice in your writing, which I think is really, really important. So that's kind of like, yeah, what I wanted to talk about. And maybe some other day we'll talk a little bit more about the strange. Right now I'm not going to, because that's kind of like a good intro into it. So if you want to, you can, do that exercise. If you don't want to, then don't, all up to you. But I will leave you with one more prompt. And this one kind of also embraces the strange. It also kind of gets you into some critical thinking, perhaps. It also just looks like fun. I'm gonna do it myself and see what I can come up with. So the prompt is: generate 2 words, preferably nouns, and write a poem connecting these 2 things. So generate the nouns, preferably, and then, so if it's like a dinosaur and like heart, I don't know. Try to write a poem. It doesn't even have to be a poem. You can even write like a paragraph. I don't, what you do, and try to write it connecting those 2 things in the most creative way possible, and kind of write something with like a deeper meaning. I don't know. That'd be cool. Again, whatever you like. But I think that's a really fun prompt. So yeah, I hope you have a super fun time with that. And I think that's it for today's video. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I'm so excited to create this community with you. So excited to make more videos. But I hope you all have a fabulous day. Please, please, please remember to subscribe, like, comment, whatever you can do. And yeah, go ahead and write your day away, babes, okay? It's gonna be fun.